All right, so let's dive into this, huh? How we use space, especially in a city that's packed tighter than, like, a rush hour subway car.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not talking outer space or anything. We're talking about the space right here between us, around us, and how it like low-key impacts our lives.
Every single day, no doubt.
It's called proxemics. And it's more than just, the physical space. It's those messages we send without even realizing it.
Like what kind of messages?
Well, it's all about the feelings we get, how different cultures navigate this whole like hidden dimension of space.
Hidden dimension, huh? Sounds kind of mysterious. Where does that come from?
That comes from a book by Edward T. Hall called The Hidden Dimension.
Okay, the hidden dimension. I like it.
It's all about those unspoken rules of space, those invisible bubbles we all carry around.
Wait, hold up. Invisible bubbles.
Think about it. How close you stand to someone, whether you make eye contact, even how you, arrange your bedroom. It all sends a message.
So you're saying my messy room is sending out bad vibes?
Maybe. But the interesting thing is that these vibes, these spatial cues, they can be totally different depending on your culture.
So like different cultures, different space rules. Is that what you're saying?
It's like different languages of space,
Different languages of space. I never thought of it that way.
Some cultures are all about being up close and personal, while others, they really value that buffer zone.
Okay, I'm starting to get it.
You ever see someone, back up when you're talking to them?
Oh yeah, all the time. Especially in the city.
They might be from a culture where, personal space is a big deal.
Makes sense. So why is this proxemics stuff so important, especially in a city like ours, with so many different people?
Well, in a city like ours with so many different people, it's about being aware of those cultural nuances so we can avoid those misunderstandings.
Avoid stepping on anyone's toes, literally or figuratively.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are some of the key things this Hall guy talks about in his book?
He starts by looking at the animal kingdom. Sounds a little weird, but animals, they're like the masters of proxemics.
Wait, animals?
Oh, yeah. They use space to communicate, like territory, dominance, even attraction.
So animals got beef over space, too.
They use it for survival, dominance, attracting a mate. Things we humans can relate to, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I see that.
He uses the example of stickleback fish, these tiny little guys with complex mating rituals.
Stickleback fish, what's so special about them?
Well, their mating rituals are based on distance and color changes. If they get too crowded, their whole love life goes out the window.
So even fish need their space to, find love. That's kind of fun.
Exactly. But it's not just about, romance.
Okay, what else?
He also studied cicad deer on James Island. Their population, it exploded and then crashed.
What happened?
It wasn't just because of limited food, but because of the intense stress of overcrowding.
Too many deer, too much stress.
It's like being stuck in a crowded elevator. You know that feeling.
Yeah, totally. That feeling of being boxed in can't escape.
And it's not just a human thing either. Hall did this experiment with rats in overcrowded pens, and things got pretty dark.
What do you mean dark?
Well, aggression, social breakdown, even cannibalism. It shows that crowding can have some serious consequences.
Whoa, hold up. Cannibal rats. That's intense.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder that space, or lack of it, can really mess with your head, even if you're not a rat.
So what does all this mean for us humans, especially in a city where personal space is basically like a myth?
It means we need to be extra aware of how we use and share space.
How so?
I mean, we're not that different from those animals in Hall's studies. We're wired to respond to crowding in certain ways, and understanding that can help us navigate the urban jungle a lot more effectively.
So how do we break down this whole distance thing with humans? Did Hall, measure people's personal bubbles with a ruler or something?
He did something even cooler.
What's that?
He identified 4 main distances that operate like unspoken rules of engagement in human interactions.
Unspoken rules, huh? Okay, I'm intrigued.
He called them intimate, personal, social, and public distances.
Okay, 4 distances. So break it down for me.
All right, so intimate distance, that's for the people you're closest to. Family, significant others, your BFFs,
Okay, intimate distance. That's for my inner circle.
Yeah.
Got it.
Think hugs, whispers, that kind of thing.
Okay, got it. What's next?
Next up is personal distance. This is like your casual zone. Friends, classmates you're cool with, people you're comfortable just chatting with.
Hanging out at lunch, bumping into someone at a concert.
You're not right in their face, but you're not strangers either.
Okay, personal distance, got it. What about when things get a little more formal?
That's where social distance comes in. Imagine talking to a teacher, your boss, or maybe someone you just met.
Social distance, keeping it professional. Makes sense.
There's a bit more space between you, a bit more formality in the way you communicate.
Got it. And what's the final frontier?
Public distance. Think a teacher addressing the whole class, performer on stage, or someone speaking at a rally.
Public distance, big spaces, lots of people.
There's a lot of space between them and the audience, and their communication is more exaggerated, louder voices, bigger gestures.
Okay, I see the pattern here. Each distance has its own set of, unspoken rules.
It changes how we talk, how we move, even how we make eye contact.
So if I can master these distances, I'm basically a social ninja.
It's not about being a ninja, but it's about being aware and respectful of other people's space.
Okay, got it. That makes a lot of sense.
It can lead to better communication, fewer misunderstandings, maybe even some new friendships.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, I'm starting to see the light here. But how does culture fit into all of this? You mentioned earlier, different cultures having different space rules.
That's where things get even more interesting.
How so?
See, these distances we've been talking about, they're not fixed. They can change. They're influenced by culture, upbringing, even just individual preferences.
So what you're saying is what might be friendly in one culture could be totally awkward in another.
Exactly. Think about it. Germans, for instance, they're known for valuing their personal space.
Okay, so someone from a different culture might come off as, too close for comfort.
Yeah. Imagine someone, barging into your bubble uninvited.
Yeah, no thanks. I need my space.
In some cultures, that closeness is a sign of warmth and connection.
Huh. That's interesting. I never thought about it like that.
It's like learning another language. Understanding the subtle cues of different cultures can help you avoid those misunderstandings and make connections with people from all walks of life.
That's deep, man. I never thought about space like this before.
It's like a whole new way of seeing the world, isn't it?
You got that right.
And this is just the beginning.
There's more.
Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the hidden dimension and explore how you can use this knowledge to navigate your city, your relationships, and your life.
Sounds good to me. I'm ready for more. Okay, so we talked about these invisible bubbles and how animals, they get all territorial. But what about us? Living in this crazy concrete jungle where you're always bumping shoulders with people.
Right. You're constantly negotiating space in the city. Just think about navigating a crowded street or scoring a seat on the bus. You're always aware of where you are in relation to other people.
Yeah, you're telling me it's like a real-life obstacle course out there.
But it's also about embracing that energy, that buzz. That's what makes cities so vibrant, so full of life.
True. So how do we, strike that balance? Cities are kind of known for being crowded and a little chaotic.
Well, Hall believed that cities could be designed in a way that respects our need for space, our different cultural norms, and our sensory experiences.
Design, architects and city planners, they need to, read the hidden dimension.
It wouldn't hurt, right? It's about thinking beyond just buildings and streets, creating spaces that cater to different needs, different social interactions.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So not just concrete and skyscrapers, but spaces that, actually feel human, more inviting.
Exactly. Imagine cozy cafes tucked away from the noise, rooftop gardens where you can just breathe, vibrant public squares where people can gather and connect.
Man, I'm liking this vision. But how do we make it happen in a city that's already so packed?
It's not easy, but it starts with being aware of our own proxemic needs and those of others. We need to be mindful of how we use and share space.
Even in the smallest of ways, right? Like being respectful of personal space on the bus. Exactly. Not hogging all the benches in the park. It's those little things.
Those little acts of courtesy.
That can make a big difference in how we experience the city.
Makes sense. But it goes beyond individual behavior too, right?
Right. We need to demand better design from our city planners, from the people we elect. We need to push for spaces that put people first.
People over profits. I like that. So it's about being aware, being respectful, and speaking up for the kind of city we want to live in. Exactly. It's also about understanding how our senses shape our experience of space. Remember those 4 distances we talked about?
Yeah. Intimate, personal, social, public.
They're not just, physical measurements. They're about how our senses engage with the world.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned how our voices change, our posture, our eye contact. It all changes depending on the distance.
Exactly. But it goes even deeper than that. Our sense of smell, touch, even temperature. Those things can totally transform how we feel about a space.
Smell. Temperature. Okay, now I'm really curious. Give me an example.
Okay, imagine walking into a bakery. You're hit with that smell of fresh bread,
Ooh, yeah, I can practically smell it now.
or the feeling of cool grass on your feet in a park on a hot day.
Man, that sounds so refreshing.
These sensory experiences can make a space feel like inviting, calming, even magical.
Yeah, it's like those details. They create the whole mood, the vibe.
And in a city, those details can be pretty intense. Think about the sounds of a street market, the smell of food, the feeling of the sun on the pavement.
It's sensory overload for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also part of what makes the city so alive, right?
Exactly. So it's about being aware of those sensory experiences, the good and the bad, and maybe even finding ways to create our own little pockets of peace.
Yeah, finding those little oases in the middle of the chaos.
It's about being present, being mindful, and finding those like hidden gems in the city that make it feel a little more human.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, like all those invisible bubbles, how animals use space, and even the way our senses, they kind of shape how we see the city.
Right. It's like seeing the world through a whole new lens.
Totally.
Mm.
So how do we actually use all of this,
Mhm.
this knowledge about space? Like, how do I actually put it into action?
Well, it starts with being aware of yourself, like how do you feel in different spaces? Are you the kind of person who loves being in a crowd? Or do you need a little more breathing room?
I think I'm a little bit of both, to be honest.
Mhm.
I love the energy of the city, but sometimes I just need to chill, find a quiet corner and just recharge.
Exactly. Everyone's different. And it's important to recognize what works for you. You can create spaces that, actually support your needs.
Okay, I can see that. So what about when I'm interacting with other people?
Well, that's when you got to pay attention to those nonverbal cues we were talking about. Distance, posture, eye contact.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Like a secret language.
It can tell you a lot about how someone's feeling, how comfortable they are.
So if someone's backing away while I'm talking, maybe I should give them a little space.
Exactly. It could be their personal space, their culture, or even just the situation. There are so many factors at play.
So it's kind of like a puzzle, huh? Figuring out all the pieces. So how can I actually use all of this to my advantage, in school or when I'm hanging out with my friends?
Think about how you can use space to set the mood. Like if you want to have a serious conversation with someone, maybe find a quieter spot instead of trying to shout over the music.
Yeah, location,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Or if you're giving a presentation, think about how you can use space to, really capture everyone's attention.
So it's not just about personal space. It's about using space strategically.
Exactly. It's about understanding the power of space and how it impacts everything we do.
This is crazy. I never thought about it this way before.
And remember, it's not just about individual interactions.
What else is there?
We can use this knowledge to fight for better design in our city. Design that's more human-centered.
Okay, yeah. But how do we do that? How do we actually change our city?
We start by demanding better from our leaders, our planners, our architects. We need to push for spaces that value community, connection, and respect everyone's needs.
Like those cafes and rooftop gardens we talked about.
Exactly. Those are the kind of places that make a city really livable.
So we got to speak up, make our voices heard.
And it's not just about building new things, It's about changing what we already have.
Oh, I like that.
Turn those empty lots into gardens, close off streets to cars, and create plazas for people. Be creative and show our leaders that we want a city built for people, not just for cars and businesses.
This has been amazing. I feel like I can actually go out there and make a difference.
That's the spirit. It all starts with awareness. Once you see the hidden dimension of space, you can't unsee it.
You're right about that.
Now go out there and use this knowledge to make your city a little more human. One interaction, one space at a time.
That's a wrap for this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed learning about the fascinating world of proxemics. Now go forth and conquer your space.